I named this channel The Veto because I think the people have the ultimate veto power.
That's great.
It's our freedom. We have the responsibility
Yeah.
to watch over society, to veto the bad ideas in
Yeah.
the ballot box.
That's good.
Congressman Josh Brecheen represents Oklahoma's 2nd Congressional District in the United States House of Representatives. He's a committed father, husband, Christian, and a fourth-generation Eastern Oklahoma rancher. In this episode, we discuss affordability, the cost of healthcare, and the role of faith as a public servant in his life. Congressman, I want to talk to you a little bit about affordability. It's really a hot topic in the news. You've talked a lot about it. According to USDA data, U.S. food prices rose by almost 24% between the years of 20 and 24. You can't fix a problem if you don't understand it. So, in your opinion, why did Americans suffer such rising prices during those time periods?
Yeah, just supply and demand, injection of cash of under the COVID era, massive injection of cash into the nation, money supply, therefore ample amount of money and devaluation of our currency. Um, but this is yes, it was heightened in the last many years, but this is something that we've been doing to our nation for the last 100 years. We've lost 95% of our currency value since 1900, and that means $5 purchasing power in 1900 is you have to have $100 bill to be able to buy that same basket of goods today. And as a number of people in Congress continue to talk about, we have to address the overspend. And then that has so many downstream impacts for interest rates and affordability as one of those because of what we're doing to just obliterate our money supplies worth.
Affordability is the term that's out there in the media. I don't particularly like that term simply because it's very relative. What is affordable for me is not affordable is way more affordable for Elon Musk, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's very relative to person. So it almost sets up if you're playing a game, it'd be playing a game that you can't fully win. But what is interesting is that certainly the cost is king right now in the political discussions around America. How do
Yeah.
you frame that? What are you hearing from constituents? And then I believe Republicans in Congress and the White House can claim a lot of credit for making progress on those issues. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were at 9% high year over year inflation under Biden. And now we're at 2.7% under Trump first year. It's a massive change. Now take the average. Biden averaged a little over 5% in inflation. Anybody who's looked at historic numbers of what inflation ought to be, Biden era, his 4 years was double the normal rate of inflation. He took us to 40-year highs. So what we've had less than a year is an opportunity to try to turn this thing around. Again, massive injection of cash, COVID, massive overspend under Biden that continued after COVID. That has been a problem. That has fueled this. Government regulations is a catalytic converter that was choking out the engine of economic prowess for this country. And so to date, Russ Vogt, many administration officials, Lee Zeldin, for every regulation that they've imposed, they have eliminated 48. The president promised 1 in 10 ratio. And that is massive because if you go back and you look at a Mercatus study from about 10 years ago, I had my staff update it. It says that if we'll just tackle the regulatory front from the Fed and we could take it back to 1980 levels, it would be a 17% 1 year jump in our GDP, over 29 trillion. 17% would be massive. So let's say, hey, someone would counter, there's no way you're going to get back to 1980 federal levels of reg. Okay, well, let's split the difference. How about half that? That's still an 8% jump in our GDP. That's on the regulatory front. I brought that up to Scott Bessent a few weeks ago in a meeting because I'm one of those that actually does believe we need to get rid of not the filibuster of the Senate, but the cloture and return back to what history utilized. As long as you can talk, great, talk on the Senate, but not this thing where everything requires 60 votes. You won't find that in the Constitution. And so my hope is the president will continue to press on this because I think for regulatory reform, in addition to what he's doing administratively, but long-term regulatory reform, we have a great chance to fix that 50 plus one votes, and we better get with that opportunity quickly because of this majority that's been handed to us. Now, just in terms of affordability, you say, well, what are you hearing? Man, I'm hearing it from kiddos in my household. I'm hearing it from, young adults that their friends knowing that first time purchases of where you're going to dwell, there's a reason why tiny homes are a fad in Oklahoma. There's a reason why RVs are a fad. It's because affordability for young adults is not there on home purchases. Again, interest rates tie into that. Overspending by Congress drives interest rates up because you got to attract bond investors. And the only way you're going to attract investors is who are concerned that the long bonds, the 7 year and older bonds, that their money is not going to be, that it's going to be invested in the full faith and credit U.S. government is not going to be, that it's going to be a good investment. You have to increase their interest rate, which then pulls money out of people investing in our economy. So we're having to offer higher interest rates to get people to pull out of regular investment in the economy, and then that is a self-defeating cycle. So solutions for all this: we've got to get serious about the debt and deficit. We've got to get serious about healthcare reform, which we can talk about, which is 20% of our GDP is healthcare. Therefore, this conversation about healthcare affordability and a real healthcare affordability debate happening in Congress, not more of the same of what the Unaffordable Care Act has produced. And those two things, I think, plus regulatory reform are the biggest three items.
Let's talk about healthcare. You mentioned it. Obviously, the Affordable Care Act did not make healthcare affordable in any way for the American people. It was a broken
Right.
promise from the beginning. Can you talk about where you think America should go as far as reforming that to bring
Yeah.
choice and
Yeah.
prosperity and options to the American people?
Yeah. Well, last night, the bill that passed out of the House, CBO scores it to accomplish two of the goals we just talked about. It will lessen spending over the course of by 35 billion. 35 billion in savings to the taxpayer. So we talked about overspend. That helps. And the CBO scored that bill we passed out of the House last night is bringing down healthcare costs by 11%. Some estimates say 12. We'll be safe and say 11. So the sad reality is that's going to go to the Senate because it requires 7 Democrats to get to 60 votes, and they won't vote for it. Another reason why I talked earlier about why we've got to change the cloture element. What are the solutions on healthcare? It's not more of the same. It is not more government subsidization. It is not more government mandates. It is direct primary care type setups. It's getting government and insurance out from between the relationship of patient and doctor. Um, the injection of insurance, overutilization of insurance, and overutilization of government mandates is what is driving the costs. If you look at since the Affordable Care Act, Unaffordable Care Act, Obamacare has been passed, insurance profitability has increased 600% in year to year correlation. Insurance companies are the big winner. Last year, of all fully subsidized, government subsidized plans, there were 40% of all those fully subsidized government plans held by individuals that they didn't tap one healthcare claim. What does that mean? These people didn't know they even had it. Government subsidized. Who was the winner? The insurance companies that received the money for covering those people. Insurance is the big winner. Taxpayers and cost to continue to escalate are the big loser. If you go back in tandem with the Affordable Care Act, the average family of four was paying 16,000. Family of four, 16,000 over the course of a year for their premiums, all their premiums month by month. Now it's 27,000 after the Affordable Care Act has been in place for about 10 years, far surpassing the rate of inflation. It's not working. It's why Democrats are even admitting that the Unaffordable Care Act is falling on its face. So what do you do? If more government and more insurance is causing prices to go up, you better go the opposite direction. That's why direct primary care, getting government, these relationships where doctors will offer monthly services for the maintenance type stuff that's not catastrophic, not emergency, right? Where they can offer you these $50, $75 a month plans, direct primary care, catastrophic loss type coverage, What insurance really, the smart utilization of insurance is for the big things that you can't afford, that you can't have savings in place for. That's where, and so many of us have been talking to the speaker directly about catastrophic loss type plans, which that's when price transparency, which I ran in Oklahoma years ago at Tom Coburn's suggestion, to run transparency, the 100 most common procedures that hospitals would have to show you the prices on those things so you can be a good consumer, so you can choose quality plus what they're going to charge you. And that's the big that I could keep going. Health sharing ministries, those are great concepts that are catastrophic loss in type in
Right.
functionality. Um, High risk pools. There are so many good ideas, and the speaker's talking about utilizing reconciliation. At some of us talking to him about this, the budget committee I'm on, that we would use the budget committee and the reconciliation process. It only requires 50 plus one votes. That's the special, unique nature of reconciliation, which is where the working families tax cut happened from. We didn't need the seven Democrats for that because we fit it into reconciliation. So there's a plan this spring to bring forth a major overhaul with our budget committee driving that process.
Well, thank you so much for that. I know you've got limited time. So the last question, I think it's really important for viewers to get to know the person as well,
Yeah.
as the policymaker, decision maker. I know your faith, you've spoken publicly, is very, very
Yes.
important to you. I was sitting in church the other day, and the pastor read a scripture that I know you've heard, uh, that Christ's loves compels us. And it
Yeah.
struck me in that moment that that is a very countercultural concept. Our culture doesn't believe that we should be compelled by anything,
Yeah.
because being compelled in that scriptural sense means it comes from within,
Yeah.
and then it affects how we operate in the world externally.
Yes.
We're okay being coerced by society. Society's okay with that. Social media influences, but that's a response from without.
Yeah.
As far as your role as a public servant, how does your relationship with God as a believer, how does that compel you to act, to behave, to interact as a public servant?
It's the reason why I'm a member of Congress. I mean, as somebody who chose early in life to submit their life unto the lordship of Jesus, and when I tell people I'm praying about something, some people say I'm praying about something and it's an excuse.
Right.
I actually mean it. Like I strive to live when I have a decision to make, even in small things. I've been striving to teach my kids this. There's a scripture in Jeremiah that says it's not for man to make his own way. There's a life verse for me in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It says, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. And there's a place of humility. Um, you don't get humility unless you're humbled, unless you've been humiliated. And for anybody who's made mistakes in your past and you made a decision that didn't work out, maybe you got to pray about it. Maybe that the belief that this inner knowing, this sense of I have a peace about this, I don't have a peace about this. Maybe if you would pause long enough for those who've submitted their need to the Lordship of Jesus, and you would pause and go, what does it mean to be a follower? Does it mean I just acknowledge you one time and that's my insurance policy to keep me, out of going south once I die? Some people
Right.
treat the relationship with God that way, right? It's just fire insurance. Well, how about making him, as Galatians says, if you live by the Spirit, then keep in step with the Spirit. Jesus said, I don't do anything or say anything unless I see what the Father's doing. So to be a person that is daily going, Lord, I need your direction. Give me an inner knowing. Give me an inner peace. And Isaiah, I think it's verse chapter 40. It says, "Then you will hear a voice behind you in the wilderness that whispers in the backside of your ear. This is the way my son, my daughter walk in it." It's an inner knowing. I'm not talking about hearing an audible. I'm talking about an inner knowing that your heart is speaking to you. It's leaping. As Christopher Columbus wrote in his diary, and I'll end with this, Robert. Thanks for the opportunity. Because you want to know passion? This is where I get passionate.
All right.
Christopher Columbus wrote in his diary. You can find this. It's historical evidence that he said when I was reading the scripture of Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah, it's in the first several chapters of Isaiah. Christopher Columbus said, I would read this particular passage, it was illuminated on the page. For me, that's often how I feel the Lord speaking through me as I'm reading scripture and it's like it jumps off the page at me. And I'm grieved if I don't embrace the action that it's directing me towards. And Christopher Columbus said that is what
Wow.
drove him to keep going, that led to the discovery of the New World.
Congressman, I appreciate your time. I know you're extremely busy. Thank you so
Thanks for
much for coming on the show.
Thanks for ending it on this point
Oh, it's
because
a pleasure. Well,
the
I'd love to talk more
long
about it
policy
sometime.
stuff bored somebody. You
Yes.
ended it on a good note.
Well, thank you, sir. You have a great day. Appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
man. Blessings.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Veto. Be sure to like and subscribe to this content on Substack by visiting yourveto.com. Don't forget that we the people hold the ultimate veto power. It's your freedom, it's your decision. We'll see you next time.